Tenho muita saudade do teu calor, do teu sorriso, teu ardor, que penetrava a minha alma e meus poros com amor. E a minha alma dava calma, muita calma, calma, muita calma, calma, muita calma. Gostava de te amar, tentei não vacilar, sei que vacilei no nosso caso, e também sei que o tempo passe, é fumaça que mistura com o ar e se dissipa com o passar.
All right. That song is by a great friend of mine, Hobson Goulart, aka Hobart. The song is called "What Would You Do," which I thought was kind of related. You know, what would you do when you choose to implement analytics and measurement? What would you do? And that's what we're going to be talking about today in our second episode of also what would you be drinking? What are you drinking? Which is both a play on this idea of like, what are you drinking? Are you crazy? Because the issue of how you track and monitor people on the internet, especially people that are coming to your website, that are coming to your app, is a big topic that we're interested in, because we think there's too much tracking going on the internet. There's too much data being collected about regular, innocent people just looking to get some functionality or information. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And that's what our work on Clean Insights is all about. But first, we have the question, what are you drinking? So, John, what are you drinking today?
Well, I should say insightful beans because I'm drinking coffee, but it's just regular coffee. Just a lesser roast.
That's okay. We don't, if you were drinking all the insightful beans, that might be embezzlement.
That's a good point.
It's marketing materials. We can't. It's delicious. We all just want to drink it ourselves.
Embezzlement?
Embezzlement. Yes. All right. Well, Tiff, what are you drinking?
I am drinking coffee as well. It's from a local roaster here called Valhalla. I think it's like Nordic or Swedish word. I don't know. But they have all these Viking-esque names of the types of roasts they have. So, and I'm drinking it in this Supernatural mug. I don't know if anyone's seen this show, but it was on the CW for many years.
Yes.
And it's about these two brothers who fight against good and evil. My sister is obsessed, and I have a lot of fan gear now.
Well,
and Nate,
show you what
actually, and Nate and Alfred, what are you guys drinking?
Alfred, Intern Alfred, it's what are you drinking?
Well, beans too, but
I know he'll get to try insightful beans. I did just, one of the perks of his internship is I do feed him often with many different delicious meals. It's sort of a thing that I decided it would be fun to do. But I apparently need to give him more interesting things to drink while he's doing his work. It's, he's working with lots of devices and hardware and technology. I don't want him to spill. So, but if he wants something in a little afterward, get some iced tea. I'm drinking a Viking-worthy mug of lemonade and ginger. You can see the ginger there on the bottom.
Yeah, wow.
Nice.
Had a little bit of upset stomach, and ginger always makes me feel nice and refreshed. So this is from the München Hofbrauhaus. I went there many years ago, but it's my favorite summer cup for drinking lots of water.
Is that from Huntington? HB? No,
Hofbrau.
Where?
Hofbrau, Munich, Germany.
Munich.
Beer hall.
Okay, cool. The logo looks very similar to Huntington Beach.
So I'm drinking. Going back to the analytics. I mean, I'm really sucking in a lot of data here in this large mug, but it's mostly transparent. It's mostly, good for you. It's water. It's not a lot of extra stuff, a little ginger. And I think that's a good metaphor for our, what we think about, again, how to measure things on the internet, right? Transparency is one value. And I know we wanted to play a game today to help think about, explain, lay out to people what exactly it is that we do with Clean Insights. So, Tiff, do you have some prompts for us, or how are we going to proceed here?
So we're going to play, as Nathan said, a game called Explain It. And it is very much what the title means. We're going to explain what Clean Insights is. Sometimes we talk about Clean Insights or other parts of our work, and we can speak about them in the terms that we understand and we know. And if we're speaking to people who are less familiar with the technologies or even some of the pieces of the integration of technologies, then they might not understand what we're saying or what we're talking about. So this game is hopefully a way for us to just consider and reflect on how we share about our work and how we explain things to people who have different capacities of like knowledge and technical skill. So we're going to start. I'm going to start by asking John. So can you explain Clean Insights to a friend who is as tech savvy as you?
Yeah, it's an alternative, a privacy preserving alternative to the usual analytics shtick. So there's a lot of analytics packages out there. Think of your favorite monopolist or multinational corporation, and they probably make one. Google's got one, Adobe's got one, Facebook has some stuff. Everybody's got one of these. And the idea is you can use this to hoover up all the interactions that are happening on your website or in your app or in your software, report them all back to a centralized server owned by that company and analyze it. And that actually will do the job for most things. If you want to know how many people looked at each page, that will tell you that. It also happens to do a lot of other things that you may not want, such as share all of your user data with a third party, when what you really want to know is how many people looked at the blog post, which is something that really doesn't require that. So Clean Insights is two things. It is an analytics SDK, right? So just like you drop a line of JavaScript into your page to load Google Analytics or anything like that, we've got SDKs that you can drop into your app, whether it's iPhone, Android, a Python app, it's JavaScript, React Native, doesn't matter. We've got a bunch of SDKs that you can drop in there that will report privacy preserving analytics. We'll talk a little bit about what makes privacy preserving in a second, but it's also a methodology, right? So the methodology usually goes unsaid for the usual commercial path, which is collect it all, sort it out later. Our methodology is a bit different. It's oriented around consent. It's oriented around finding things which are meaningful, right? And collecting only what you need. So get the SDKs, you've got the methodology. That's really what it is. And when we say it's a privacy preserving SDK and methodology, what we mean is we do a couple of things. It preserves anonymity, right? We don't link your data across days, across devices, anything like that. We do aggregation, and we do aggregation on device, which means rather than every single time you do something, you talk to the server, which can actually spill a lot of information to anyone watching the network, and even to the data collector. Just once a day or once a week, you send up a package. You go, hey, here's the number of times this thing happened. No more, no less. It's nice and simple. And overall, it's just focused on minimizing the amount of data collected, right? So you're designing to get what you need and nothing more. That's what Clean Insights is.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was great.
I should have started by asking you. Yeah, it was really great. There were a couple terms that some people may not have known, like SDK, JavaScript, server, perhaps. But that's what this game is about. I should have started by asking you, John, like, what, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being smartest person in the room, what level of tech savviness would you have rated yourself?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh, wait, what?
a 2.
A 2. Okay, so
I know more than nothing, but I think we in the computer world tend to be really navel gazing when we talk about what constitutes technology, and we pretend it's only computer, and that if you know things about computers, you understand technology. And like, I don't know, agriculture is a technology, and I can barely keep a houseplant alive, so I'm going to give myself a 2 out of 10 on tech. But for computers, I give myself an 8.
Ooh, all right. It's true. There are many different types of technologies in the world. If we specify to computers, that is helpful. So you kind of explained Clean Insights in thinking about it as somebody who has maybe a 10, an 8, knowledge level of Clean Insights with the words and terms that you used. But now we're going to have Nathan and Alfred's team explain Clean Insights to somebody who's maybe a grandparent who may not have an 8 level of tech savviness. Although we know Nathan and Alfred, I don't know what level they would rate themselves as, but I'm sure it's pretty high on the scale. We're going to see how they would explain Clean Insights to their grandparent. And Nate, you live or have close encounters with, is it your wife's mom or somebody who lives close to you?
Yeah, we have an extended family, multi-generational. And actually, I get this a lot at church where a lot of people say, so what do you do again? I say, oh, nothing. I'm a soccer coach. But actually, this might be fun because I could explain Clean Insights to a high school student as well. Now he's a technically savvy high school student, as we've learned, but maybe I'll do that quickly, and then you can ask some questions, and then maybe you can try to explain it to, a grandparent or someone at our church.
Playing telephone. This is great.
All right, so scoot up to the microphone a little. I want to make sure we hear you. All right,
we're putting you on the spot.
I have an idea. So you know how you think, or sometimes people think that you're like, I was just talking about this thing with my friends, and then I got an ad on Facebook about it, right? Everyone talks about how that happened. I was just talking about going on a trip somewhere, and suddenly I'm seeing ads for that place, right? Or some shoe or some movie. Now, sometimes that's just circumstance or kind of people seeing things they want to see. But other times, in fact, maybe you talk to someone about it, right? And you're connected with them. And maybe they did a search about, they were like, oh yeah, let me search that place. Maybe they visited a website, maybe you looked up on YouTube that thing or that product. All of those little signals, all of those pieces of data, like if you live in the same house, if I mentioned to my mother-in-law about like how great I think the Instapot is, right? She's like, oh, I should look that up. And she goes and searches on Amazon Instapot. Well, now someone in my house who's connected to me, who's on my same cell phone plan, who shares a lot of data and other signals, has done a search for Instapot. Of course, I am now going to get ads for Instapot because the vast amount of signals out there tracking our interests and our behaviors create this like collective image, not just for us, but everyone we're connected to. So anything that you claim to be interested in, any site you visit, any app you use, is not only impacts how you are targeted and marketed to on the internet, but how everyone in your circle is, right? And so with Clean Insights, we're trying to give an alternative because not everyone, every website or every app realizes they're part of that sharing. And some people just want to know who their visitors are, or is my app working, right? So Clean Insights gives them a way to do that. you can still measure, but without sharing with every other piece of data on Google or Facebook, for instance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is when I explain it back.
All right. So now your dad, you come home and he said, Alfred, what did you do today in your internship? Tell me about something you did.
Go ahead and I'll tell him about Clean Insights, for example, which I've learned about. And I would tell him it's an alternative to data collection or information collection that I would say other companies would use in their different apps and products that they might market towards users. And it allows you to basically collect only the necessary information, I would say, and not sort of trace things that people don't want you, like don't want you to trace, like the users wouldn't want you to trace, for example. And then it will sort of help you only like make them like get what they want out of their apps. They wouldn't trace anything that you'll want. That's it.
Awesome.
But
great. I think he would understand that. And my other variation on this is like, I say, oh, do you have an electric car? Do you have a Tesla?
Yeah.
And say, well, Tesla's like tracking all that data, right? And someone might say, well, that's just to make sure the Tesla's working, right? That's it. I'm like, well, it is, but then it's also to make sure that they can improve their driving data. But they might also share that with advertisers who will know you have a Tesla and where you go. And they might also share it with your car insurance company. And in fact, Tesla is often your car insurance company. And so in fact, your car insurance rates are affected by the tracking that Tesla is doing to make sure your car is functioning.
So it's only sharing with you and the developer. Yeah,
and once you start doing a little measurement for one thing, it just opens this huge can of worms, and all the worms crawl out. So
It's
all right. How do you think we did?
I think that was super duper.
That was great. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Alfred did make a good point. Alfred did say something that was interesting towards the end of. So, you think you're making the distinction, Alfred, of like who is Clean Insights shared with, like who's getting that data, or who is being who has access to the data that is shared via Clean Insights? Was it clear to you who is?
Who's like has access to the Clean Insights data?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for my interpretation, it's the user and like the person who's utilizing that data. I would say like they're implementing it in their apps. It's going to be between you and them. It wouldn't be like, I would say, imported to other software developers. Not developers, but like other software companies like Google or like Spotify, for example, we mentioned.
And this is important with Europe because they really care about, is it a third party, right? First party,
third party
versus third party, right? And so I think saying that Clean Insights is first party measurement is really important and not third party. You're not turning data over. Now, of course, in some cases, people might host their Clean Insights data with us and our server because they don't want to host their own server yet. But ideally, everyone is running their own Clean Insights end, because then they have full control of the data. It never goes to anyone else except for the app or service you're visiting.
Yeah.
So that's first party. But, yeah. And
Awesome.
I'll just lastly say there's there's plenty of stories in the news about this related to, apps doing like reproductive tracking and fertility and things using Facebook as their measurement and analytics toolkit. And so they're sharing essentially that data with Facebook as a third party. And there's all sorts of things like that, where things that are clearly stuff that should be private. I know I'm very, very sensitive now to searching anything medically in Google as an example of that, or anywhere, and I use a private browser and stuff because, I have a lot of concerns about that history. And it's annoying too. I might just search one random thing. I mean, like I was in the woods of New Hampshire and where there's lots of ticks, and I was having some fatigue, and I just wanted to search again what like symptoms were. Oh my God. You know how many stupid Lyme disease tick ads I'm getting now everywhere?
Oh,
I should have used some anonymous browser to do it, but it's just like you're just tired of it. Like I was worried for one moment about Lyme disease. I don't have Lyme disease, but now for weeks I'm harassed about having Lyme disease.
I'm looking forward to. We just bought a baby gate for my dog, and I am looking forward to all of my ads for the next 6 months being baby stuff.
Yeah.
That and it's going to get twice as bad because we bought a water purifier. So the algorithm is going to be sure that someone in the house is pregnant.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so many ways to talk about it. Is that good, Tiff? Did we explain it well enough?
I think we nailed it. Nailed explain it.
Nailed
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Cheers. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to keep these short, but what's new since 2 weeks ago? Anything new that we've learned, or any? I know we have some plans. I know we also have some. I mean, one thing I want to talk about is we've had some partners and potential people interested with some funding to implement Clean Insights who are nervous, who have worries about their users revolting. And we've realized that we haven't done a good enough job sharing all the thoughts we have around consentful UX or consentful user experience, meaning the last thing we want is when someone installs your app or upgrades your app suddenly to get a big giant pop-up box that says, this app wants to track you. Click yes for tracking all the time everywhere, right? People are so used to a horrible user experience for measurement. And we've spent a lot of energy on having very positive, meaningful user experiences that tell you what they're measuring, that says it's for a limited time, that explains why you want that, what data you want, that also is only in if you choose to join a focus group study, for instance, or you're having an issue with a certain feature. So I think we do need to spend more time really sharing that and promoting that, because we're getting a lot of people just saying, no, I can't do it because my users, because even though we've put a lot of thought and energy into how to make your users care and want to participate and be part of it, as opposed to feeling like you're just extracting something from them. But I guess we haven't communicated it well enough, and I want to do a better job.
Well, and we have a really cool opportunity with that, which is the groups that we hang out with and some of our first implementers are extraordinarily privacy sensitive, right? You could imagine that if you just run a brick and mortar, I just run a restaurant down the block and I want analytics on my website. I don't want to feed it into the maw of surveillance capitalism, right? I would say, be a privacy conscious person with an ordinary use case, right? But we find people who are making privacy software, and I think if we can make it work for them and go through that kind of trial by fire, what comes out of that is just really bulletproof for the everyday use cases. So it's a fun group to try to work with because it's about the hardest degree of difficulty.
Yeah. And I think we have ideas for content, more content, updating the homepage. And I think we just need time. I mean, we need people to give us time to talk through. If you go back to the website about, I'll do a little screen share here. Screen share, here it comes. So on the website, we have this 4-step process. And I think we can improve this, but I really like, this decide what you want to know, right? And that's this idea that like we are specifically thinking about, there's something in my app that I'm concerned about. There's something I wish I knew, something very specific, right? And then based on that, you define what you need to measure to know that. What is the data for how long, right? It's this really confined, constrained thing. Focus on one thing you're trying to understand and what you're measuring. And then 3, choose your consent experience, right? So the experience we want is that the user at some important key step that maybe isn't working as well, or that the developer is concerned about, they get notified, like, the developer of this app is trying to understand how, much battery life is used when this background service is running, or when and how long, this might impact you negatively, and is asking for your help. Would you be okay if we measured this one thing for this limited amount of time? And I think that's a really, like, your participation here can really help us, and will, and this study will end in 2 weeks, or something like that. I mean, it's a very different experience, and we have these, UX consent prototypes that we've had for a while that really walk through some of these different ideas. So yeah, we just need people to give us time to talk through all of this, because I think we can, allay most people's fears.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is a good segue to saying, if people do have questions or concerns, we'd love to hear them. So drop us a line, send an email.
I think connect
with us on Matrix.
The other thing that John mentioned about how we actually aggregate data on the client is also really interesting for applications that of low connectivity, right? Or that want to actually save their users' data, and that we batch up so many measurements, where you can send just one little blip once a week, as an example. So we're also trying to make it easier just to, people are like, I don't have time. It's too complicated. I don't want to do all these steps. I just want to drop in a line of code. So on the flip side, we're working on making that easier, so that there's an auto tracking, very simple, privacy preserving. Was this app used this week, right? Some basic measurement like that. So you get a count, because right now, like, where do we go for our apps when we want to count like that? Well, we have to kind of look at Google and Apple App Store tracking, because they're already tracking you. But even the way they do it is not as easy or simple as I want. So part of this, how do I save myself time and have my own basic measurement of, like, is my app serving people or not? So so we've been up to that in the last week, working on some new plans for content. We have our docs.cleaninsights.org website that is, we're going to have more content there. And otherwise, I think we're going to have some guests maybe in 2 weeks. Well, I think as we go, we want to bring in some of our partners, and maybe we can do these discussions live. Let's bring on the skeptical.
Oh boy.
And have it out. It's going to be like, I'm going to be, what's that show where you're like, wrong.
Leaning into that trial by fire.
What's your opinion? Shouting, and then we'll see what happens. And I can just cut people off. Like,
isn't that all the shows?
It's all the shows, yeah. Well, I have so much power here. See, look. I can just put anyone where I want to put them. Anyway, well, I'm almost out of time. Any other updates for today?
None here. Good to see y'all.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think we should talk about, so Alfred's been working with our Butterbox, Butterbox project, and off-grid kind of hotspots and stuff. And I think that's one of the big challenges, is like off-grid analytics and measurement. It might be interesting to think about implementing Clean Insights, but you can only get the measurement data by, like, plugging into the box.
Ooh.
So somehow write it and store it locally. We write a little PHP script that runs on the web server to receive the measurements, like run the simp locally and have it write to disk. We could do it. Off-grid analytics. So, because then you'd know, say you had a bunch of boxes, which ones were the most used, which one had the most visitors, right? but you could go around and just read a file off a disk, and it would tell you that. So
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, maybe next time Alfred will have
How
a
many
delicious
buffalo?
cold drink. I'm sorry again. We'll make something really good next time, like smoothies or something. Or
Yeah, like the smoothies.
okay, we'll make some smoothies.
Oh.
Smoothies next time. And then John, I know you wanted to have a cocktail.
Smoothies.
That would have to be later in the day, maybe. But
Yeah. Maybe a Friday
Some
afternoon
insightful tea.
recording.
sounds good. All right. Well, we're gonna bring back Hobart here. Music playing.
I try to not mess it up. I know
Thanks,
I
everyone.
messed up this affair.
All right. That's all for now.
Later.
We're out of here.
This mere smoke in the air that dissipates with the passing time, passing time, passing time, passing time. Maybe we'll get together. I'm gonna keep searching for you. I'm gonna need to find you so that I can just ask what's up.